Imagine for a second, you reach for the toilet paper roll, and it's not there. Not just empty, but it was never invented. What would you do? For most of human history, this was reality. It's a topic we rarely discuss, but it reveals so much about ingenuity, culture, and our ever-evolving standards of cleanliness. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes cringe-worthy history of what people used before toilet paper. Let's travel back to ancient Rome. If you were a citizen using a public latrine, you wouldn't find a single square of charmin. Instead, you'd find a Xylospongium. That's a fancy word for a sea sponge attached to a stick. Now, here's the kicker. These were communal. After use, you'd rinse it in a channel of running water or a bucket of salt water or vinegar, and leave it for the next person. Yes, a shared toilet brush for your bottom. It sounds shocking to us, but it was a standard part of Roman daily life, a testament to their focus on communal infrastructure, even in the most personal of moments. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, they had a different, perhaps sharper solution. Archaeologists have found small, rounded pieces of ceramic, known as Pessoi or ostraca. These were fragments of broken pottery. Some historians believe these were used for cleaning after using the toilet. Ostraca were also famously used as voting ballots for exiling citizens, which gives a whole new meaning to being voted off the island. Can you imagine? The very same object used for democratic processes might have also been used for personal hygiene. It's a stark reminder that objects in the past often had multiple, and sometimes surprising, functions. Now, let's head east. While the rest of the world was getting creative with sponges and stones, China was already a step ahead. As early as the 6th century AD, we have written records of paper being used for toilet purposes. A scholar named Yan Zhitui warned his family against using paper with important texts or sages, names on it for the nether regions. By the 14th century, during the Ming Dynasty, the imperial court was mass-producing special perfume toilet paper sheets for the royal family. We're talking millions of sheets a year. So, while Europe was still centuries away from the idea, China had already turned bathroom hygiene into a luxury industry for the elite. In many parts of the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa, a different custom prevailed, one that continues to this day for many: the use of water. The left-hand rule became a deeply ingrained cultural and religious practice. The left hand was designated for unclean tasks, including personal cleansing with water, while the right hand was reserved for eating, greeting, and all other activities. This is why in many of these cultures, it's considered extremely rude to offer your left hand to someone. This system was not only effective, but also highlights how hygiene practices can become intertwined with etiquette and faith. What about in the Americas before European contact? And what did the colonists use when they arrived? Before the advent of mail-order catalogs, a readily available item in rural America was the humble corn cob. Once the kernels were eaten, the dried, absorbent cob was surprisingly effective. It was plentiful, biodegradable, and, well, free. It became such a common item that it persisted in some rural areas well into the 20th century, even after paper became more accessible. It's a classic example of using what's available in your immediate environment. And that's a theme we see across the globe. People have always been resourceful. Depending on the climate and local flora, the go-to solution was often nature itself. Smooth stones from a riverbed, handfuls of soft moss, large, pliable leaves from plants like mullein, often called cowboy toilet paper, were all common choices. In colder climates, a ball of snow was the answer. In tropical regions, a coconut husk could do the trick. Our ancestors had a deep, practical knowledge of their natural surroundings, knowing which plants were soft and safe, and which to avoid like poison ivy. The transition to what we use today began in the modern era, but it wasn't an overnight switch. With the rise of printing, a new, convenient material entered the home: paper, but not the kind we know. Old newspapers, almanacs, and especially mail-order catalogs like the Sears and Roebuck catalog became fixtures in outhouses across America. They were free after they'd been read, and the pages were absorbent enough. The catalog was famously hung from a nail, ready for use. It wasn't until the late 19th century that commercially produced toilet paper appeared. The first company to successfully market it was the Scott Paper Company in the 1890s. But there was a problem. People were too embarrassed to buy it. It was seen as an unmentionable product, so they sold it discreetly to hotels and drugstores. A major selling point for early commercial toilet paper was that it was splinter-free. Early paper-making processes often left tiny splinters in the final product, making a trip to the bathroom a potentially painful gamble. The promise of a splinter-free experience was a huge technological and marketing leap forward. From communal sponges and ceramic shards to corn cobs and catalogs, the journey to our modern roll of quilted, ultra-soft paper is a long and winding one. It reflects our changing ideas about privacy, health, and comfort. The next time you effortlessly tear off a square, take a moment to appreciate the centuries of innovation and experimentation that went into that simple act. It's a little piece of history we use every single day. What do you think is the most surprising thing people used? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this historical deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.